this is obviously the dream scenario where you're heading into the semi-finals and then the grand finals in a great position. Everything's positive. So you made all your money back. You've got all of it in your account, waiting to deploy on the grand final. And even if you do nothing, you're going to win a lot. Win $6,000 anyway. Hello everyone, let's talk about advanced Eurovision trading, where we bet before the semi-finals. And let's see how this relates to Eurovision 2024. As always, this is not financial advice. I'm not a qualified financial advisor. This is for entertainment and educational purposes only. Betting on Eurovision is high risk. You can lose all of your funds. Do your own research, and always please remember, humans are notoriously bad at predictions, me included. The first thing we need to understand if we are going to bet before the semi-finals is we need to know the game that we're playing, which is vastly different to investing in the grand final. Trading before the semi-final introduces much higher risk, much higher potential for losses. Now, on the flip side, the rewards can also be much greater than if you invest solely on the grand final. In a worst case, it's entirely possible your account could be at a loss before the grand final even begins. And speaking from experience, this can add a lot more stress, and it's not fun. We need to be aware of market catalysts leading up to the semi-finals that can shift the odds so that we can take advantage of them. One of the dangers trading around this time frame relies heavily on experience in Eurovision and betting in general. You need to know how to use Betfair properly on the backing side and the laying side. So I'd only recommend trading before the semi-final if you've had 2 or 3 Eurovision seasons under your belt. It's very important that you maintain discipline. Position size for your bets is critical to making this work. I don't use 100% of my stack. I only use 10 to 20% of my capital just for trading before the semi-final. So we'll discuss some good setups, and we'll also have a look at my personal worst and best case scenarios that you can learn from. Unlike the grand final, we need to have a look at the 3 months leading up to the semi-finals, as they can change the market odds very quickly. Throughout February and the beginning of March, artists are confirmed internally, or they're confirmed by winning their national finals. As a result, all of the artists' official music videos are released. By the time April comes around, we have the Eurovision pre-party concerts, and we also have the Euro jury and OGAE poll results. And then in May, we have the rehearsals, then the semi-finals, then the grand finals. So for trading before the semi-final, I typically focus on 4 strategies, and they are targeting the national finals in February, not March, looking at the Euro jury poll results, using my intuition, and also having a look at countries that can qualify from the semi-final. So looking at the national finals, out of all the 4 strategies, this one is probably the easiest to implement. We're only looking to bet against countries up until mid to late February, basically up until only half of the countries have released their songs, and then we're going to stop betting. With only half of the field revealed, unpredictability is high, which is exactly what we want. Because of this unpredictability, we have a market that is fantastic, especially to bet against countries. The best lay bets, the best countries to bet against are ones where we have an overhyped song or the performer lacks stage presence, basically something is off, and the odds are very short, ideally less than $10. There's 39 out of 40 countries where if you're betting against them, you're going to win that bet. Those are great odds. After we've placed our lay bets, our aim is to completely exit our position by the time the semi-final arrives. We're not going to keep this lay bet because, first of all, we don't know if it's going to be wrong or not. We want to completely get our money back by the time the semi-final arrives, regardless if we're in a loss or a profit. So if we have a look at 2024, I am betting against laying Ukraine and Croatia. They're the top two favourites right now. I just think their songs are okay. I just don't think both countries have great live performances. Again, I'm happy to keep an open mind. I could be proven wrong. If I'm betting against Ukraine and Croatia, I'm more than happy to reverse my position, especially if by the time the grand final comes, the investor model says something like Ukraine's going to win. So obviously, I want to be in a position, I want to be fully out of position just in case that happens. So at the moment, I'm betting against Ukraine and Croatia. I'm hoping the odds will double. So for Ukraine up to $8, Croatia to $10, and then I'll cash out this bet and get my stake back and let the rest ride. Another strategy I think about is the Euro jury. So around April, the results of the Euro jury will be revealed over a couple of weeks. So Euro jury is a worldwide poll of top industry professionals from every Eurovision country. And they typically award the highest points to jury-strong songs. So songs that have strong narratives, technically challenging, safe songs. So in this strategy, the aim is to back countries that are more internally selected with their music video release, i.e. they haven't performed on stage. And ideally, they're at long odds, so over $20. And countries that the market doesn't think that this song can win, and obviously the song has to be jury friendly. So the idea is that this country may not be a Eurovision winner, but by the time the Euro jury comes around, they're going to be pushed up in the results, and fans are going to have a look at the Euro jury results and see that, say, this country is doing really well in the jury, maybe they can win, and that's how hype and interest is generated. And when that happens, the odds are going to get lower and lower as they're more favoured. And again, I'm looking to cash out on that hype. I want to definitely get my stake back. I don't want to be carrying any position into the grand final. So in regards to 2024, I think France is probably going to poll well in Euro jury. I'm not sure if France can win Eurovision overall. Hopefully the Euro jury recognises the France singer's talent. I thought the music video is incredible. Such a deep, velvety voice, very emotive. And I think the market is overlooking this song. So I'm backing France, but by the time the Euro jury poll results come out, I'll be hoping to cash out, hopefully at a profit. I definitely want to get my cash back. So if we're relying on experience and intuition, this strategy is very rarely used as it's very unpredictable. As we've discussed in the course up until this point, my perception of a song can be vastly different from other people's perceptions. So using your intuition to predict a song that's going to do well, you really, really have to think about this strategy, as a lot can change by the time the grand final comes around. So basically, we're using our intuition, using our experience of Eurovision to determine a strong song early on that can go on to win. Again, we must keep in mind we don't know what the Eurovision staging will be like. Remember, the staging at Eurovision is a lot bigger than these smaller national final contests. The camera work is also more technical. Many more camera angles required, so the support team has to have great editing skills. The whole presentation can be a lot different to what you see in a national final on the music video. So it can be hit or miss, and thus the performance it can either make or break the Eurovision performance. So it's very unpredictable. So ideally, we'd want to be backing a unique, catchy song that's being streamed heavily on Spotify, very popular, and the performer should have come from a national final. So at least we have some idea of their ability to sing live. So even though it's tempting to carry this position right through to the grand final, i.e. I think this country's going to win, I'm going to keep this bet on, all the way up until the semi-finals and all the way to the grand finals, it's very, very risky. The wisest decision would be to, again, fully exit the position before the semi-final hits, hopefully with a profit. Because the risk is that if you get into this position, let's say we're backing a country and we hold this position through the semi-final and we're so sure this country is going to win. But by the time the grand final hits, their odds have drifted, or the investor model comes up with a different country that's going to win. By the time all of that happens, it's very, very difficult to get out of the position and get your money back, get your stake back, basically. So you're better off doing it before the semi-final, when it's probably a better odds to do it with. So let's have a look at 2024. I think if I was to pick a country that's going to win Eurovision based on intuition alone, I would say Italy. Angelina Mango. I think the song's very catchy, very, very unique, stands out, very sassy. She sings it so confidently. And it's a very engaging performance. Of course, this all could change. So her current odds are $11. So as we're getting closer to the semi-final, if the price gets cut in half down to $5, I'll think about exiting the position and getting my stake back and maybe letting the rest ride. I definitely won't be holding this position past the semi-final. And finally, the last strategy is betting on the semi-finals, especially the qualification market to qualify for the grand final and also to come in the top 3 of their semi-final. So this strategy works well because at the semi-finals, qualification to the grand final is now 100% based on the tally vote. There are no jury votes. So this means that popular trending songs from countries, especially with large diaspora, will do well. So the aspects of the investor model that can help this are obviously the diaspora effect, especially from the non-automatically qualifying countries, and also looking at Google Trends. I'd say Poland's song looks pretty good. Poland has large diaspora, popular song according to Google Trends. If we have a look at the 4 favorites currently, and then we have a look at Poland rated really well. I mean, maybe this was the day the music video was released, but even a few days after, she's still holding pretty well compared to the other favorites, so Ukraine, Croatia, Italy, and Iceland. When the semi-final comes round, just from having a look today, Poland, I'll be looking at their stats. Hopefully, the market doesn't think Poland's going to qualify. Hopefully, they think the market thinks Poland's going to come last in the semi-final, and hopefully the odds are really big, so that if these Google Trends, if this Google Trends data holds up for Poland, it might be worth betting on. So, just as a quick comparison between pre-semi-final trading versus grand final investing with the investor model. If we have a look at the risk to reward, pre-semi-final trading, the risk is high, but the reward is high. Compared to the grand final investing, low risk, low reward. That's pretty simple, right? So for the skill level, pre-semi-final trading requires an advanced skill level, no doubt about it. And grand final investing, you have the investor model to do a lot of the hard work for you, so it's more beginner moderate. The time frame for pre-semi-final trading is over 3 months in the lead up to the semi-final, whereas the grand final investing period is basically less than 24 hours. You're going to be doing the investor model and then going straight into the grand final, which is quite clear cut. So if we want to bet, either back a country or lay a country, we want to get into basically a betting position. For pre-semi-final trading, it's important to scale in to a position. So average the amount that you're going to bet on over days or even a week. Definitely don't bet it all in one go, as the odds fluctuate a lot and things can change. Whereas for grand final investing, we're using the investor model less than 24 hours before the grand final. So, you definitely want to do it immediately. You want to put all of your money on all at the same time. For pre-semi-final trading, we're managing our positions as we want to fully exit the position by the time the semi-final arrives. Like I said, we don't want to hold on to any of these positions. We basically want to start from zero by the time the grand final hits. Grand final investing, we're investing all of our money and we're letting it ride, obviously betting on the grand final, looking at the results, and it's either going to win or lose. For pre-semi-final trading, we're only going to be using a small amount of our stack. I just use 20%. For grand final investing, we're using basically all of the funds we've set aside for Eurovision investing. Pre-semi-final trading, we have 4 strategies. We're looking at national finals in February. We're looking at the Euro jury results. We're backing countries based on our intuition, and we're looking at the semi-final qualification markets. For grand final investing, we really only have one strategy, and that's the investor model. Again, for pre-semi-final trading, our mindset, we should be open and reversible. We want to keep an open mind. We don't want to get sucked in, and we definitely want to keep an open mind. We don't want to have tunnel vision, and we don't want to get carried away betting on just one country and ignoring the others. We also have to have the ability to reverse our betting position if necessarily. We don't want to dig a hole so deep that we can't get out of our bets. Now, this is the opposite to grand final investing. With grand final investing, again, you've got the investor model, you've done all the calculations, we're betting on these countries. By the time the grand final hits, we have a closed mind. We've basically done all of the work. This is what we think. We have all the information. This is what we think. We're going to be betting on these countries, and obviously we can't get out of it. We're going to see it right through until the results, Eurovision results. So, sounds great, doesn't it? Well, let's talk about where it can all go wrong. And more specifically, for my personal history, Eurovision 2018 was a year where pre-semi-final trading went pretty wrong. So just to take you back to 2018, around March, after all the songs had been released, Israel's Netta was the clear favourite to win Eurovision at $3. Now, my perception of the song was that it was disjointed, it's really wacky, it'd never win, it was just too out there. And I kept thinking, why would anybody vote for this? Basically, I thought the mainstream public would never go for such a crazy song. On the other hand, and this might be my country bias as I live in Australia, Australia came out with an incredibly strong pop anthem. It's still used to this day in some of the Eurovision highlight packages, We Got Love. Jessica Mauboy was the singer. Now, she's a fan favourite in Australia. I just thought she was a leading contender to win overall. She was ranked 4th or 5th in the odds, so she was, people thought she could win. And living in Australia, I'd seen her sing live many times, and it all seemed fine. She seemed very confident. She seemed capable. Singing live, I thought, was not even going to be a factor. I thought she'd be great. And she was also a guest singer at ESC 2014. I think she was at one of the halftime breaks or something. So I thought it'd be a no-brainer she'd do well. She's got a great song. She can sing live. This is a shoo-in to win, I thought. And the odds were great. So basically, I did everything that I just told you that I shouldn't have done. I basically did every single mistake. I bet just about most of my stack on Australia to win Eurovision, all in one go. And this is back in March. So we've got another 2 more months until the semi-final. So here I am betting heavily on Australia at $15 to win Eurovision. What could go wrong? So if we have a look at the screenshot of my Betfair account, 30 days before the semi-final, I thought I was in a winning position. So first of all, here's Israel, the favourite, And here's Australia, the fifth favourite. Israel's odds are about $3.20. You can see I've been betting against Israel, basically betting against every single country except for Australia. So basically what this shows is that if Israel wins, I'm going to lose $10,000. But I was so fixated on Australia winning, so fixated on if Australia won, I would win $140,000, which, is a crazy amount of money. I was just purely focused on Australia winning. No other country could win. And unfortunately, I set myself up for a very rude awakening. Because if we have a look at the next slide, this is 30 days before the semi-final. We're now looking at 48 hours before the semi-final. 48 hours, 2 days before the semi-final. And look how the odds, look how everything's shifted. Israel's drifted a little bit to $4, but Australia used to be here, fifth favourite, and now they're not even a leading contender to win Eurovision now. Their odds drifted from $15. We're now looking at $110. So they're now a long shot. How could it all go wrong? And I've got money on Australia still, and I'm faced with losing basically a lot of money. And this is before the semi-final. We haven't even hit the grand final. I haven't even had the opportunity to do the investor model, and it looks like I've already lost. Basically, I remember staring at the screen. I remember being in shock. I remember thinking my life was over. My wife is going to kill me. Where am I going to get the money to recover from this? How could I be so stupid? How could I keep betting on Australia? This was very, very unpleasant. So basically what happened is this pop anthem, this music video came out, was just amazing. But then when the rehearsals hit, and this is why the odds drifted so much, is that we had glimpses of the rehearsal. And here's Jessica, and the staging was very dark. So the song, I don't know if you know the song, We Got Love. It's very bright, it's very inspiring, powerful, hopeful. And we're talking about love, happy feelings, strength. And then the staging is almost the opposite of the song. So the staging is dark, gloomy, depressing. It's a contradiction to what she's singing. And on top of that, because the stage is so massive, she wasn't able to sing in tune. She wasn't able to sing confidently. She was dancing awkwardly when she shouldn't have been dancing. Just everything went wrong. And basically I could just see it all being over for me. It's a very unpleasant situation, and I hope none of you ever get yourself into so much of a hole. The answer is don't put all your eggs into one basket. So yeah, in spite of all this happening, I was actually able to turn 2018 around, and it was because of some other factors. I don't know if you remember what happened in 2018, but Israel, way before the semi-final, was at $3. Now Israel's odds had started to shift, had started to drift. She's now at $4. Eventually these odds would get up to like $6 or $7. I think even $8. So the reason why, because Israel's rehearsals didn't go according to plan either, but they were able to recover from it. That's why their odds drifted. And on top of that, Cyprus, Eleni Ferreira, her song Fuego also captured the hype train of the fans, and they pushed Cyprus over the next few days. They pushed Cyprus from $6 all the way up to $2. So by the time the grand final hit, we had a heavily backed favourite in Cyprus, and because Cyprus was at $2, this pushed out all the other countries. So Israel went to $6 or $7, I think. And I was also very lucky the investor model bailed me out. The investor model picked Israel. So I was able to scrape together some funds, or leftover funds. I was able to get out of Australia at a loss, but I still had some funds. And basically I put it all on Israel, as the investor model predicted that Israel would be a strong contender. I think it was a high confidence that year. So I was very lucky the investor model and Israel bailed out my losing position to like a decent result that year. So I was very fortunate. I was able to get out of it. So let's talk about where pre-semi-final trading can go right. And I'd say 2023 last year went pretty well for me before the semi-finals. So in 2023, I implemented all 4 strategies so that when the grand final came around, I was already heavily in profit on basically the top contenders. So on the national finals, I was betting against the favourites, so Ukraine and Sweden. On the Euro jury strategy, I heavily backed France, which was at $70. France, the music video, I thought was very professional. I thought her emoting was excellent, very mysterious. I thought the song was engaging. And I thought the Euro jury, or I thought juries in general, would reward France really well. For the intuition part of the trading, I thought Finland was very unique, very unique, catchy song, different. So I started backing Finland at $12. And then for the semi-finals, Poland, I thought had a great advantage to qualify and come in the top 3. Her odds at the time were $9, and I thought the market had overlooked her. So just having a look at it, I had, say, 5 bets going on. Now, 4 of those 5 bets worked well, but one of them didn't. So the one that didn't was betting against Sweden to win at the national finals. Now, because it didn't really make a difference in the end, because first of all, that position was reversible. When the semi-finals came around, remember, I've gotten out of every single position. Okay, so with Sweden, I obviously made a small loss. And then the semi-finals happen, and then we're going into the grand final. The investor model predicts that Sweden's going to do well along with Finland, and so that's when I was betting on Sweden. But just remember, 4 out of these 5 bets were very successful. And the fact that Sweden wasn't successful up until the grand final, it didn't really matter in the end, because the other 4 were such strong bets. They kind of made up for it. So by the time the grand final hit, I was in a pretty good position. So here we are 60 days before the semi-final and late February. Sweden is a very strong favourite. She's already like $1.92. So I'm in the negative because I'm betting against Sweden and betting against Ukraine. I'm backing Finland as part of my intuition strategy, and basically betting against everything else. And then France here, 60 days before the semi-final, France is $65. So I'm backing France, and I'm waiting for the Euro jury results, and then I'm going to get out of my position. So I was backing France in the $65, $70, $75 range. So here we are 48 hours before the semi-final, and we're in a winning position. Let's have a look at France again. France's odds are now $20. So she's gone from $65, $70 all the way down to $20. So obviously that was a very good lay bet. It was magnificent. I was able to exit that position well into profit. And everything else is green. So this is before the semi-finals. I'm already in a winning position. I mean, this is obviously the dream scenario where you're heading into the semi-finals and then the grand finals in a great position. Everything's positive. So you made all your money back. You've got all of it in your account, waiting to deploy on the grand final. And even if you do nothing, you're going to win a lot. You're going to win $6,000 anyway. So that is the dream position, and that's why betting before the semi-finals can be pretty rewarding if things go according to plan. So just to recap, trading before the semi-final is a lot different to investing in the grand final. It does require a different skill set. You need to have an open mind. You need to be flexible. You need to reverse your positions if you have to, and you need to have the discipline to set a position size and stick with it. So 20% of my stack is devoted to this, and I'm not going to go above that no matter what. So for certain participants, especially those that have experience at Eurovision, mastering trading before the semi-finals can be extremely rewarding. But just be careful, as it does have its risks as well.